Hi, my name is Brett Webb. I'm an assistant professor of civil engineering at the University of South Alabama. I'd like to share with you how I evaluate learning outcomes in my undergraduate and graduate courses.
Early in his teaching career, Dr. Webb was faced with a question that required his attention. You, as an instructor, know what you covered, but how do you know what your students learned?
It's very difficult for us as we go in with these sort of broad goals and objectives in our classes to really figure out, at least in terms of some sort of quantifiable measure, what students are actually retaining or learning from that in terms of specific details. So I found that it was very difficult to evaluate the outcomes of the class and the student outcomes in terms of learning if I didn't organize those outcomes into specific learning objectives.
Dr. Webb uses Bloom's taxonomy of skills in the cognitive domain. Bloom identified 6 levels of skills. The simple recall of facts is the lowest level. The levels become increasingly more complex and abstract until you reach the highest mental level, which is classified as evaluation. Each level has a corresponding set of outcome-illustrating verbs that can be used to state the objectives.
Number one, they should be clear, concise, simple, and complete sentences. Every learning objective should have an action verb and a noun. The action verb is the process or behavior to be modeled. And the noun is the knowledge to acquire or construct for that specific content. Generally, I find in my 50-minute lectures that I can reasonably cover 3 to 4 learning objectives per class.
In order to assess the effectiveness of his teaching methods, Dr. Webb links the objectives with the students' outcomes.
The formative assessment part really is only possible when you have linked outcomes and objectives and when they're both measured relative to some sort of standard or benchmark like Bloom's taxonomy. So I really use this quite a bit and will pull verbs from that rubric to construct my learning objective.
To provide more assessment opportunities, each student exam could be scored by question. Students' performance is then tracked by problem.
I collect the exams, and then as I score them, I create a spreadsheet, and I have a spreadsheet set up that is by problem on the exam and also by student. And as I'm scoring a student's exam, I'll actually grade each problem individually and then place that score in the spreadsheet under that for that specific student and that specific problem. By tracking the performance by problem and by student, we can generate question level and student specific statistics about performance relative to the level of difficulty of that problem as linked to some sort of rubric for evaluation, which has to be measurable. And generally these problems, the way I set the exams up, are related to at least one learning objective or maybe a group of learning objectives. And so we can evaluate student performance by problem by linking that to the level of difficulty or complexity of the problem, whether the problem was practiced or not, whether that's a quiz, a homework, an in-class problem, to prepare them for that content on the exam.
Dr. Webb sees no difference between applying this assessment method in a traditional or online environment.
The only major difference really comes in how you might organize that content into your online learning environment. So instead of having content delivered in a 50-minute lecture, you might need to take 3 lectures worth of material and combine them into a weekly unit. A second issue may arise when trying to develop a plan for tracking student performance, either on a question-by-question basis or on a student-by-student basis. And that, in large part, will be a function of the grading system that's employed in your online learning environment.
Dr. Webb can see this type of assessment to be useful in other fields.
All programs, academic programs across campus, deal with and face state accreditation. And so this type of system that provides the opportunity for formative assessment and provides us an opportunity to actually identify and track continuous improvement of course outcomes would be perfectly applicable in other fields.
Through his creative use of learning objectives and assessment in both his traditional and online courses, Dr. Webb has become an e-leader